My sister cut up my wedding dress, stole my ballroom, and mocked my vows as the after-party. My parents cheered her on until her downfall hit live TV, and they came running to beg me. This isn't just a story about a wedding dress. It's a raw, gut-wrenching tale of a lifetime of betrayal culminating in a single, brutal slash, a cut that revealed a wound far deeper than delicate fabric, forever altering the definition of family. I stood there, utterly frozen, in Bella's bridal boutique, my fingers hovering just inches from my dream wedding gown. And there it was, a deliberate, precise slash running along the seam, tearing through the pristine white fabric like a gaping wound. This wasn't some accident, no manufacturing flaw. Someone had taken a blade to my wedding dress. Miss Alden. Mrs. Valenti, the boutique owner, approached, her heels clicking softly. I am so sorry. We only discovered it during the final pressing. My throat tightened, clenching with a panic I hadn't felt since childhood. 2 days. The wedding was in 2 days. My hand trembled as I traced the damaged seam, a 14-inch cut, curving along the hip of the A-line skirt. This was the dress. The one I'd saved 8 months to afford. Can it be fixed? My voice sounded distant, alien. Mrs. Valenti's sympathetic eyes told me everything I needed to know. We'll try, she murmured. Our seamstress will work through the night if necessary, but I must warn you, the fabric is delicate. The repair might show. In that moment, a vivid memory flashed, cold and sharp. Me, 10 years old, standing in my childhood bedroom, painstakingly sewing a costume for a school play. Mari barged in, laughing, ridiculing my pathetic attempt. Hours later, I found it torn. My mom sighed, "Why can't you be careful with your things like your sister?" That memory twisted inside me like a knife. Growing up, I lived in Mari's shadow. I was the academic, but Mari's modeling photos dominated our living room. By 17, she was a regional beauty, her social media followers climbing. I blinked back to the present, my hands clenched into fists. Vivian? Mrs. Valenti's touch on my arm startled me. Do you want to call someone? Another memory. Another gut punch. My high school graduation. I'd practiced my valedictorian speech for weeks only to scan the audience and find my parents' seats empty. They'd left early for Mari's casting call. Sorry, kiddo, Mari needed us, Dad texted later. The pattern never broke. When I asked about college funding, Mom just laughed. College would be a waste of money for you. Mari's career is taking off. That's where our investment belongs. My English teacher, Mrs. Chang, became my lifeline, helping me land my first proper job, recommending design courses, celebrating my achievements when no one else would. By 23, I'd finally saved enough to move out, finding a fragile peace in the distance from my family's toxic orbit. Then Elliot Warren walked into my life at a coffee shop, spilling his latte all over my design sketches. His horrified expression quickly melted into genuine interest in my work. Our first date stretched into 5 hours of easy conversation. His family welcomed me instantly. Gregory and Patricia asked about my designs, remembered details about my projects, and showed up to my first gallery showing. The contrast with my own family cut deep, a wound I hadn't realized was still festering. Vivian? Mrs. Valenti's voice broke through again. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Mari. Hope everything's going smoothly with your preparations. Suddenly, the pieces clicked together with crystal clarity. 3 months ago, I'd called my mother with our engagement news. Her response? Oh, that's nice, dear. Did I tell you Mari booked that national skincare campaign? A week later, Mari cornered me at Sunday dinner, her practiced smile never reaching her eyes. Oh, you're doing a small wedding, right? I guess it's fine if I get married the same day. The shock still burned. When Mari announced she'd booked her wedding at Aspen Ridge, the exact venue Elliot and I had reserved, her ceremony scheduled 90 minutes before ours, her guest list 3 times larger, her dress featured in a local magazine spread. And now this. Mrs. Valenti. I straightened my shoulders, a sudden, unfamiliar steel entering my voice. I'll pick up the dress tomorrow at noon. But the wedding will go on. Something hard and unyielding settled inside me. Please tell your seamstress I appreciate her efforts. 15, maybe 20 minutes later, sitting in my car outside, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mari. Asterisk, by the way, I think Mom invited some of Elliot's relatives to my ceremony. Hope that's okay. Asterisk, I took a long, steady breath. For 27 years, I'd tried to earn my family's love, stepping aside, staying quiet, accepting scraps of attention. But this, my wedding dress, my day, this is where it ended. They'd made their choice. Now I made mine. Later that day, I pushed through the revolving door of Aspen Ridge's grand entrance, my wedding planner, Cynthia, 2 steps behind me, clipboard clutched tight. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the marble floors where my heels clicked with military precision. Your ballroom is the cedar room, Cynthia said, flipping through her notes. We confirmed it 3 times. The venue coordinator, a tall woman with a permanent customer service smile, met us halfway across the lobby. Miss Alden, there's been a slight adjustment to your arrangements. My stomach dropped. What kind of adjustment? You've been moved to the Pinewood room. She glanced at her tablet. The change was approved by your wedding coordinator. I'm her coordinator. Cynthia stepped forward, eyes narrowed. I approve nothing. The woman's smile faltered. The request came from Mari Alden. She said she was helping coordinate both weddings and that you'd agreed to the switch. A familiar voice carried from the adjoining corridor. My mother's laugh, followed by her words. Clear as crystal. Of course Mari's wedding is the main event. The cedar room is perfect for her. Guest count. I steadied myself against a nearby column, fingers pressing into the cool stone. The cedar room. My dream space, with its waterfall backdrop and panoramic mountain views. The room I'd reserved 6 months ago with the first 5-figure check I'd ever written. The Pinewood room holds 50 people, correct? Cynthia asked, her voice tight. The coordinator nodded. It's more intimate. Code for smaller. Less significant. Second best. Mari has invited several members of the Warren family to her ceremony, the coordinator continued, checking her list. She mentioned they were shared relatives. They're not her relatives at all, I said, my voice tight. They're my fiancé's family. Oh. Her eyes widened slightly. She specifically requested Gregory and Patricia Warren be seated near the front. Elliot's parents. My future in-laws. The only parental figures who'd ever shown me genuine support. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mari. Asterisk had to invite Greg and Patricia to my ceremony since they're basically family now. Tom's hitting it off with Elliot's dad, business connections, you know? Don't worry, they can still make it to your little event after. Asterisk, the coordinator lowered her voice. Miss Alden, Mari mentioned she was doing you a favor by helping plan. She said you were struggling with the details. Blood pounded in my ears. 20 minutes later, I stood in the Pinewood room. It was fine. Serviceable. A corner space with modest windows and basic white walls. A wedding hall for someone who didn't matter. My phone rang. Elliot. Mari's fiancé just called me, he said without preamble. He suggested we combine our weddings to save face, since most of the guests will be at theirs anyway. I pressed my forehead against the window glass. What did you say? I told him I'd marry you in a courthouse tomorrow if that's what you wanted. His voice softened. This is our day, Viv, not theirs. For the first time since finding my slashed wedding dress, tears threatened to fall. A text from my father. Arrived. Asterisk, your sister just needs more attention. She always has. Please don't make this difficult. Asterisk. I could recite those words from memory. The mantra of my childhood. Later that evening, my apartment door clicked open. Elliot entered, carrying takeout bags from our favorite Thai place. My coworkers' supportive messages still lit up my phone, offers to help with flowers, photography, anything I needed. Your mom stopped by the boutique, Elliot said, setting down the food. She's checking on the dress repairs. I blinked. My mother. No, mine, he corrected gently. Mom was furious when I told her what happened. Something inside me fractured. I sank onto the couch, 27 years of composed smiles, and swallowed hurt rising like a tidal wave. They never saw me, I whispered as Elliot sat beside me. Not once. Not when I graduated top of my class. Not when I got my first design contract. Not when I moved out. My voice broke. They won't even see me on my wedding day. Elliot pulled me against his chest, his heartbeat steady under my ear. I see you, Vivian. My parents see you. Everyone who matters sees you. The phone rang. Gregory Warren's name appeared on the screen. Vivian, he said when I answered. May I ask what ballroom number Mari's reception is in? The Cedar Room, I replied, puzzled. Why? Just confirming some details. I heard the scratch of a pen. Don't worry about anything. Focus on your day. When I hung up, Elliot's expression had changed, a mix of amusement and conspiracy. What's your dad planning? I asked. Elliot took my hands. He wants you to have deniability. But let's just say Dad doesn't appreciate people who manipulate events in his family. The next evening, at the rehearsal dinner, a small gathering at an Italian restaurant downtown, the Warrens surrounded me with warmth. Patricia adjusted my hair with motherly care. Gregory shook hands. With each guest, his conversation flowing easily. Across the room, I caught Gregory speaking quietly with Elliot's cousin James, who worked at his firm. They glanced in my direction, then nodded to each other. As dessert arrived, Gregory rose, champagne flute in hand. To Elliot and Vivian, he said, his voice carrying authority without volume. Family is defined not by blood, but by who stands beside you when it matters. Tomorrow will be a day of revelation. His eyes met mine with unmistakable meaning. For everyone. On the wedding day, I stood before the antique mirror in the small bridal suite, my fingers tracing the nearly invisible repair along the seam of my wedding gown. The boutique seamstress had performed a miracle overnight. Only someone who knew exactly where to look would notice the damage now. You look beautiful, Vivian. My makeup artist, Melissa, stepped back, admiring her work. Her smile reflected genuine pride, not the hollow compliments I'd grown accustomed to. Thank you, Melissa. I studied my reflection, hair swept into an elegant updo, minimal makeup highlighting my natural features. Nothing overdone or flashy. Just me on my terms. A sharp knock interrupted the moment. The door swung open without waiting for a response. Mari stood in the doorway, resplendent in her own wedding gown, a designer creation with crystal beading that caught the light with every movement. Her professionally styled hair cascaded in perfect waves, her makeup flawless. Oh, I didn't realize you were still getting ready. Her voice dripped with practiced innocence. I just wanted to check if you needed anything before my ceremony starts. Melissa glanced between us, sensing the tension crackling in the air. We're fine, thank you. My voice emerged calmer than I felt. Mari stepped further into the room, running her fingers along the vintage vanity. Mom thought you might want to use some of my hair accessories. Something a little more substantial. Her eyes flicked to my simple pearl pins. Since your ceremony is so intimate. The word curled from her mouth like an insult. Mari. I turned from the mirror to face her directly. Please leave. Her eyes widened with manufactured hurt. I'm just trying to help. Vivi, that's what big sisters do. You've helped enough. I gestured toward the door. Your ceremony starts in 40 minutes. I'm sure you have other things to attend to. For a split second, surprise flashed across her face, so brief, anyone else might have missed it. She wasn't accustomed to direct confrontation from me. Well, she smoothed her gown. Good luck with everything. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I exhaled slowly, releasing the breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Wow, Melissa whistled low. That was intense. Family, I shrugged, turning back to the mirror. Another knock. Softer this time. Vivian? My mother's voice filtered through the door. May I come in? I nodded to Melissa, who opened the door. Mom stepped inside, dressed in a lavender suit that coordinated perfectly with Mari's wedding colors. She carried a small box. I thought we might discuss the music selection. She set the box on the vanity. Mari mentioned you hadn't finalized the processional, and I have some suggestions that might work better with a smaller venue. The music was finalized 3 weeks ago. I met her eyes in the mirror. Classical guitar for the processional, string quartet for the reception. But dear, she persisted, wouldn't it be lovely to use the same orchestra as Mari? They could simply continue playing. It would save you the expense, and frankly, the quartet you hired seems a bit amateur. I turned to face her directly. No. Vivian, be reasonable. I said no. My voice remained steady. This is my wedding. My music has been chosen, paid for, and confirmed. She blinked rapidly. Well, I just thought that you could change things at the last minute to make my wedding an extension of Mari's. I finished for her. That's not happening. Her mouth formed a tight line. You've always been so stubborn. I'm only trying to help. You've never tried to help me. Not once in 27 years. The words escaped before I could reconsider. Please go. Mari's ceremony starts soon, and I know that's where you want to be. She left without another word, the door closing with more force than necessary. Melissa approached cautiously. Need a minute alone? I shook my head. No, I'm done with those. When she stepped out to gather the bouquets, I stood alone before the mirror. The woman staring back at me looked different somehow. Shoulders straight, chin lifted. The repaired dress, with its invisible mending, suddenly felt symbolic. This is my day, I whispered to my reflection. My phone buzzed with a text from Elliot. Asterisk, just saw your sister's guests arriving. Heard she's telling everyone to stop by the smaller wedding after for free drinks. My dad is having a field day. Taking notes. Love you, can't wait to see you. Asterisk, I smiled, slipping the phone into my small handbag. Whatever Gregory had planned, I trusted him completely. Later that day, walking alone down the aisle felt nothing like I'd imagined as a little girl. No father's arm to lean on, no mother dabbing proud tears from her eyes. Instead, I moved forward on my own strength. Head high, eyes fixed on Elliot. The intimate gathering of 50 guests, true friends, and Elliot's loving family created a warmth no grand ceremony could match. Each face represented a genuine connection, not social obligation or status. When Elliot's eyes filled with tears at the sight of me, something broke open inside my chest. This is what being seen truly feels like. You're extraordinary, he whispered as I reached him. The ceremony unfolded exactly as we planned, personal vows that spoke of finding family in unexpected places, of building something new together. No mention of troubled pasts or absent parents. I promise to be the home you never had, Elliot said, his voice steady despite the emotion. Shimmering in his eyes, a place where you are always seen, always valued, always enough. Afterward, in the smaller ballroom where our reception began, I noticed Gregory checking his watch. Repeatedly. Mari's ceremony had concluded 20 minutes ago. Is everything okay? I asked as he pulled out my chair at the head table. His eyes twinkled. Absolutely perfect, just keeping track of timing. That's when I noticed the ballroom filling with unexpected guests. Men in formal attire and women I didn't recognize, filing in with champagne flutes already in hand. Elliot. I squeezed his hand. Who are all these people? My new husband leaned close, kissing my temple. Just wait. Dad says it's almost time. The string quartet transitioned to a lively piece as servers appeared with the first course. The mysterious guests mingled comfortably, making themselves at home in our celebration. Then a hush fell across the room. Mari stood in the doorway, still in her full wedding gown, her expression frozen in confusion. Her eyes darted around the packed ballroom, taking in the elegant decorations, the overflowing champagne, the crowd of well-dressed guests. As she stepped further inside, recognition dawned on her face. These weren't random wedding crashers. These were her fiancé's colleagues, industry connections, influential people who should be at her reception right now. Gregory rose smoothly from his seat, champagne glass in hand. "Ah, Mari, welcome to my son's wedding." His voice carried effortlessly across the now silent room. "Isn't it magnificent?" And in that moment, watching comprehension wash over my sister's face, I felt something shift irreversibly. The balance of power, tilted against me my entire life, finally righted itself. I stood beside my husband, straightening my shoulders. My day, my terms, my victory. Mari's eyes darted around the room, recognition flickering as she spotted face after familiar face. "I don't understand," she whispered. Gregory leaned closer. "Half your guest list works for my firm," he explained, his tone conversational, but loud enough that I could hear every word. "Did Tom never mention that I oversee human resources for Westridge Architects?" When I noticed certain names on both guest lists, I simply made sure my employees understood which wedding took priority. The diamond earrings at Mari's ears trembled as she shook her head. "But I sent personal invitations. And I sent personal reminders," Gregory finished, raising his glass in a small salute. "Remarkable. How persuasive a note from one's boss can be." A commotion at the entrance drew our attention. Tom, Mari's fiancé, barreled through, his tuxedo slightly askew, face flushed with anger. He froze mid-stride when he spotted the senior partner from his law firm raising a toast with Elliot. "What have you done?" he hissed at Mari, grabbing her elbow. For the first time in my life, I saw genuine panic in my sister's eyes. "I didn't know. My entire firm is here." Tom snarled, dropping his voice, but not enough to hide his fury. "Partners who never accept social invitations came to congratulate me on my wedding, only to find themselves at your sister's reception." Mari attempted to salvage the situation with her practiced smile. "I just wanted to congratulate my little sister," she announced loudly, voice honey-sweet. "What a lovely, intimate gathering." Tom's fingers dug deeper into her arm. "Stop it," he growled. "You made this about your petty games, and now I look like a fool in front of my boss." The entrance doors opened again. My parents appeared, their expressions expectant as they scanned the room for Mari's grand celebration. Mom wore the coral dress she'd shown me 3 times, explaining how perfectly it would photograph against Mari's color scheme. Dad stood behind her, already looking bored. Their faces registered confusion, then shock as they took in the scene. Mari cornered by an increasingly agitated Tom, the ballroom filled with elegantly dressed guests toasting Elliot and me. Gregory noticed them too. He straightened his tie and walked over, extending his hand to my father. "Mr. Alden," he said, his voice carrying. "I'm Gregory Warren, Elliot's father. As a father, I wouldn't miss my son's wedding for anything in the world." He paused, his smile never wavering. Strange how some parents think differently. Dad's hand hung limply in Gregory's firm grip. Mom's mouth opened and closed without sound. Across the room, Tom's voice rose. "You promised this would work." "Keep your voice down," Mari hissed. "Why? So you can save face?" My managing partner just asked why I sent him to the wrong ballroom. Their argument escalated until they were no longer bothering to hide it. Tom threw his hands up. "This is exactly like the condo decision and the honeymoon change, you making choices without consulting me. If you'd just listen, I'm done listening." Tom backed away, straightening his jacket. "Enjoy your empty reception." As if on cue, a venue staff member approached Elliot and whispered something. Elliot's eyebrows rose, and he turned to me with barely suppressed amusement. Apparently, he murmured into my ear, "Mari's reception." Across the venue stands nearly empty. Only 12 guests showed up. A strange feeling bubbled up. Inside me, not satisfaction exactly, but vindication. Years of standing in shadows, of making myself small, of accepting scraps of attention, all of it crystallized into this perfect moment of clarity. My parents approached, their expressions transformed. Mom reached for my hands. "Vivian," she said. Her voice warm in a way I hadn't heard directed at me in years. "You've always been the more dependable one." Dad nodded vigorously beside her. "Always knew you would succeed," he added, as if he hadn't missed every milestone that led to this day. I looked at their faces, suddenly eager, suddenly proud, and saw the truth. With Mari's star falling, they were scrambling to align themselves with success. The power had shifted, and like weather vanes, they'd swung toward the strongest wind. I felt Elliot's hand slide into mine, his thumb brushing reassuringly across my knuckles. His touch grounded me. "You don't get to say that now," I told them, my voice clear and steady. "I've already built a life without you." I turned to the nearest staff member. "Would you please escort these guests out?" They weren't on our list. As they were led away, their protests fading, Elliot pulled me close. The band struck up our first dance song. Around us, the reception continued, the air lighter somehow, as if the room itself could breathe easier with the toxic elements removed. In Elliot's arms, surrounded by people who chose to celebrate us, I finally understood what family really means. 10 days later, a stream of texts flooded my phone as Elliot and I watched the sunset from our rented coastal cottage. The Oregon waves crashed against the rocks below, each surge washing away another layer of tension from my shoulders. Mari's latest message glowed on the screen. *, please call me Viv. Mom and Dad are devastated. Tom left me. Everything's falling apart. *, I switched off my phone and placed it face down on the wooden side table. 10 days of honeymoon peace wouldn't be interrupted by their manufactured crisis. "More drama?" Elliot asked, his hand finding mine on the porch swing. "The usual. Mari's world collapsing. Parents heartbroken." I took a sip of wine, savoring the crisp Pinot Noir from a local vineyard. Apparently Tom walked out after their wedding. Fiasco. Elliot's thumb traced circles on my palm. Gregory mentioned Robert called him twice this week. Something about investments gone wrong. The pieces connected like a puzzle I no longer cared to solve. My parents had sunk their savings into Mari's elaborate wedding, the now canceled reception, the designer dress she'd never wear again, the honeymoon suite sitting empty. "Not our circus," I whispered. The liberation in those 3 words washed over me like the tide. When we returned home a week later, our apartment felt different, lighter somehow. We unpacked in comfortable silence, occasionally catching each other's eyes and smiling. The wedding photos arrived. The next day, I opened the package with Elliot, our heads bent together over the kitchen counter. Page after page of genuine joy. My repaired dress catching the light. Elliot's eyes never leaving mine during our vows. Gregory and Patricia flanking us like protective sentinels. Not a single shot included my biological family. My phone buzzed with another voicemail notification. 14 messages from my mother, 8 from my father, 23 from Mari. I deleted them all without listening. 3 days after our return, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I spotted Mari's familiar silhouette, shoulders hunched, head bowed. "It's Mari," I told Elliot, who looked up from his laptop. At the dining table. "Your call," he said. "I can stay or go." "Stay." The word came out firmer than I intended. I opened the door to find my sister stripped of her usual polish. No makeup. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Eyes red-rimmed and swollen. "Can I come in?" Her voice cracked. I stepped aside without a word. She entered cautiously, like an animal sensing a trap. Her gaze landed on Elliot, then darted away. "I've been trying to reach you," she said. "I know. Aren't you going to ask what happened with Tom?" I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Does it matter?" He said. humiliated him in front of his entire company, that I used him like I use everyone. A tear slid down her cheek. I didn't mean for things to go so wrong, Viv. I just wanted to overshadow me. Again. The words came out flat, without the heat I once felt. You've been doing it since we were children, Mari. The only difference is, this time you got caught. That's not fair. I just wanted a beautiful wedding. Is that so terrible? I walked to the sideboard where my laptop sat. Let me show you something. With a few clicks, I pulled up the security footage from Bella's bridal boutique. The timestamp showed Mari entering through the back door, speaking briefly with someone off camera, then approaching my wedding dress. The scissors glinted in her hand before she made the precise cut. Mari's face strained of color. How did you? Mrs. Valenti recognized you. She has a daughter who follows your Instagram. I toggled to another screen, displaying the group text between Mari and our parents. * Mom, just checked Vivian's venue contract. Their deposit only holds until 3 p.m. If her ceremony runs long enough, they'll have to downgrade to the garden space. * Dad, smart thinking, princess. * She won't even know what happened. * Mari, sometimes being the pretty one means being the smart one too. Mari stared at the screen, lips parted. Those were private. So is my wedding dress. I opened another file. Here's your social media post mocking my pathetic budget wedding 2 weeks before the ceremony. Her eyes filled with fresh tears. Viv, I was just venting. I never meant. And this, I said, opening the final email, is the most interesting one. The message from our parents to Mari appeared on screen. * Darling, we've spoken with the venue coordinator. She understands our situation completely. Just make sure you outshine her in every way. We've put aside extra money for your flowers and champagne. No one will even remember her wedding by the time yours is finished. * Mari collapsed onto our sofa, shoulders shaking. Not the calculated tears I'd seen her produce on command since childhood. These convulsions came from somewhere deeper, somewhere perhaps even she didn't know existed. I forgive you, I said, watching her head snap up in disbelief. Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to this anger would only keep me tethered to you. The forgiveness is for me, not you. Viv, we can have a relationship when you get help. Real help, Mari. Not Instagram therapy or whatever spiritual cleanse is trending this month. She rose unsteadily, mascara tracking down her cheeks. What about Mom and Dad? The same applies to them. I moved toward the door, opening it wide. Some families aren't made of blood, Mari. I've finally found mine. She paused at the threshold, fragile and diminished. For a heartbeat, I saw the little girl who once braided my hair before school picture day, before competition poisoned everything between us. I really am sorry, she whispered. I know. I closed the door gently but firmly behind her. Elliot's arms encircled me from behind. You okay? I leaned back against his chest, feeling his heartbeat through my shoulder blades. Better than okay. The weight I'd carried since childhood, the constant striving for approval, the silent acceptance of scraps of attention, slid away like water, finding its level. In its place, something unfamiliar yet welcome settled in my chest. Freedom. I arranged the fresh-cut lilies in a crystal vase, morning light streaming through the bay windows of our new craftsman home. 6 months since the wedding, and sometimes I still woke expecting to find myself back in that cramped apartment, bracing for another text from Mari. Those look beautiful, Elliot said, sliding a mug of coffee across our kitchen island. His hand covered mine. Briefly warm, steady. Gregory and Patricia will be here in an hour, I reminded him, adjusting one stubborn stem. Dad called this morning. He's bringing those design magazines from New York. Elliot's eyes crinkled at the corners. He's more excited about your freelance projects than his own retirement plans. The thought warmed me. 3 major clients in the past month alone. My UX portfolio growing with work that reflected my vision, not compromises to please difficult bosses or family expectations. I sipped my coffee, remembering last week's video call with a tech startup. The founder nodding approvingly at my wireframes. This is exactly what we need, Vivian. When can you start? No second guessing, no comparison to someone else's work. Just straightforward appreciation of what I bring to the table. Elliot wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. You disappeared. There for a second. Just thinking about how different everything is now. His chin rested on my shoulder. Good different. The best different. The doorbell chimed. Elliot's parents arrived bearing pastries from that little bakery downtown and Gregory's promised stack of design periodicals. Vivian. Patricia enfolds me in a hug that smelled of Chanel No. 5, the same perfume she wore to our wedding. We saw the mock-ups you sent Gregory. Absolutely stunning work. Gregory set the magazines on the coffee table, his silver hair catching the light. That healthcare interface will transform how seniors navigate their medical records. My colleague at Memorial wants to discuss implementing it system-wide. We settled in the living room. No tense silences. No waiting for backhanded compliments. Just conversation that flowed naturally, punctuated by genuine laughter. Almost forgot. Gregory pulled an envelope from his jacket. Your birthday dinner reservation for Saturday. Patricia insisted on laurels. They have that chocolate souffle you loved at Christmas. My birthday. 2 weeks away, and they remembered without prompting. After lunch, while Elliot and his father discussed the merger at the architecture firm, Patricia helped me clear plates. How's therapy going, dear? She asked quietly, loading the dishwasher. Good. Hard sometimes. I handed her a serving bowl. Dr. Winters says healing isn't linear. Patricia nodded. You know, watching you stand up for yourself that day reminded me of when I left my first husband. Terrifying and necessary all at once. I'd heard fragments of this story before. Patricia at 24, walking away from a controlling marriage with nothing but a suitcase. The card came yesterday, I told her. From my parents. Her hands paused. And? Standard hallmark. Hope you're doing well. Mari sent a separate one. Have you responded? I shook my head. Not yet. Mari mentions she's seeing someone. A therapist, I mean. Patricia simply nodded. No pressure. Either way. That evening, after Elliot's parents left, we sat on our back deck watching the sunset paint the sky. My phone buzzed with a work email, the industry award nomination I'd forgotten about. They want me at the ceremony next month, I told Elliot, scanning the details. Of course they do. You're revolutionizing how people interact with healthcare technology. He squeezed my hand. We'll be there, front row, embarrassingly loud with our cheering. I pictured it, looking out from that stage, to see not empty chairs where family should be, but faces bright with genuine pride. The Warrens. My colleagues. Friends who showed up when it mattered. Later, as dusk settled, we discussed our plans for the spare bedroom. It could be a nursery. Elliot suggested cautiously. Someday. The idea no longer terrified me, raising a child, becoming a parent, not with what I'd learned about breaking cycles. Someday, I agreed. When we're ready. The doorbell rang, unexpected at this hour. On the porch sat a small package. Inside, a single white rose and a handwritten note in Mari's precise script. Asterisk, I'm getting the help I need. Take all the time you need. Asterisk, I placed the rose in water, but set the note aside. Some wounds heal, some don't. Either way, we move forward. Elliot appeared in the doorway, a question in his eyes. It's okay, I told him, meaning it. We're okay. Family isn't just blood. It's who sees you, who stays, who makes room for all of you, not just the convenient parts. And sometimes, it's who you choose to become.